All right, this video is section 1.4 for Honors Algebra 1. We're going to talk about exponents and order of operations. So first thing we need to do is define the different parts of an exponential phrase. If you have, for example, let's say 5 squared, right? 5 to the second power. The base is the 5. Okay, we'll just kind of do a color code here, right? The base is the 5, and the exponent, can make that a little darker, is the 2. The exponent is the 2. So let's think through what exponents actually mean. If I have 3 squared, that means 3 times 3. So the exponent tells you how many times to multiply a number by itself. Or 5 to the third, that's the same as saying 5 cubed. That means we're going to multiply 5 by itself 3 times. So 5 times 5 is 25, and then if I multiply that by 5, I get 125. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's just a single number like a 3 or a 5, or if it's a fraction. If you square something, you're just multiplying it by itself. So 3/7 times 3/7, and we learned the other day for fractions, you just multiply straight across. So that would be 9 over 49. Okay, order of operations. I know you've kind of talked about before, but we're going to develop that a little bit. I know that you know this phrase. A lot of teachers call it PEMDAS. P stands for parentheses. That means the first thing you should do is whatever's inside the parentheses. After you take care of that, then you take care of any exponents that there may be. After you take care of exponents, you're either going to take care of multiplication or division. These are equal as far as when you do them, as long as you're working from the left to right. Okay, same thing with addition and subtraction. Whatever you come to, addition or subtraction, whatever you come to first as you work your way from left to right. So if I look at this first example, there are no parentheses. So the first thing I see is the exponent. So first I'm going to have to do this 5 squared, and that would be 25. So what I actually have here is 6 divided by 3 and then plus 25. And so next, division comes before addition. So then I would do the division. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And the last thing I have to do is the addition for a total of 27. Okay. Next example. I know you've seen absolute value before, and absolute value are kind of like parentheses in that they would go at the beginning with parentheses. So on this one, I'm going to do what's inside the parentheses. So 12 plus 3 is 15. Even though it's addition, it doesn't matter because it was inside the parentheses. And then I'm going to treat the absolute value kind of like parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and evaluate that. The absolute value of negative 15 is positive 15. Remember, absolute value means to make it positive. And in this case, I could go ahead and multiply the 2 times 15. But we know that whenever you have a fraction, if you have the same number on top and bottom, it's okay to just cancel. So this is just going to come out to be 2. Okay, letter C. No parentheses, no exponents. So I'm going to take care of any multiplication and division. And since I'm working left to right, first I'm going to do the 3 times 10 and get 30. And then bring down the subtraction because I don't want to do any subtraction yet. And then I see this division problem. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Now I can do the subtraction. 30 minus 1 is 29. Okay, look at the next one. No parentheses. I do see exponents. That means I have to do the exponents first and get 16. And then I can do the multiplication. 3 times 16 and get 48. And last one. No parentheses. No exponents. So first I do the multiplication. So I'll just multiply straight across. I'm going to get 3 times 1, 2 times 2, and then I can subtract that 1/2. And you know, in order to subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So if I want my denominator to be 4, I'm going to have to multiply this by 2. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So what I actually have here is 3/4 minus 2/4, which gives me 1/4. Okay, here's a big one. So one parentheses, remember absolute value are the same as parentheses. So if I look at the top, I'm going to have 3 plus, in place of this absolute value, I know that 4 minus 3 is 1, and if I take the absolute value of that, I just have 1. And then I have the plus 2 squared all over 6 minus 3. Okay, the next thing I can do is exponents. So I'm going to have 3 plus 1 plus 4 all over 6 minus 3. Now I can do all of the addition and subtraction. So on top, I'm going to have 8. On the bottom, I'm going to have 3. Now I know I'm writing in a whole lot of steps, and you could combine some of these steps. I just want to make sure you see all the individual steps in the video. Okay, the last one, whenever you have brackets, right, these squared ones here, these squared off things, brackets, that's just the same as parentheses. So whenever you have multiple parentheses, like one parenthesis inside another parenthesis, you always start on the inside and work your way out. So I'm going to start inside here. That 10 minus 1 is 9. So I've got 3, then my bracket, 4 plus 2, and that 2 is being multiplied by 9. That was in place of the parenthesis. Okay, so inside the big brackets, I'm going to have 4 plus 2 times 9 is 18. That's still inside the brackets, so I still need to finish up what's on the inside. 4 plus 18 is 22. Now I can multiply that by 3 and get 66. Okay, what's the difference between an expression and an equation? Well, you may remember equations have equal signs. Where expressions do not have equal signs. No equal sign. So what that means is you can simplify an expression, but you would solve an equation. And when we say solve, that means you're going to end up with something like, x equals 5. You're going to end up with a specific answer, x equals or y equals or something like that. Whereas simplify, you might have x's, you might have y's, you might have numbers. It's just a matter of making it as small as possible, combining your like terms. Maybe I'll put that here. Combine like terms. And that's all you can do. Okay, so the first ones we have here are expressions. Notice it says evaluate each expression if x equals 3 and y equals 2. So everywhere we see an x, we're going to put a 3. Everywhere we see a y, we're going to put a 2. So I'm going to have 2 in place of x. Anytime you replace something, you need to put it in parentheses. So in place of x, I'm going to put a 3 minus, and then in place of that y, I'm going to put a 2. Now, I know I said every time you replace something, you should put it in parentheses, but sometimes it doesn't really make sense, right? Minus and then a parenthesis of 2 is kind of unnecessary. So, be smart about when you have to use parentheses and when you don't necessarily have to use parentheses. Okay, so on this one, I'm not going to use the parentheses there. Okay, so what I actually have then is 6 minus 2 for 4. Okay, on the next one, same thing, put in a 3 everywhere you see an x. So 3 over, put in a 2 everywhere you see a y. Okay, there's another y, so 2 over 2. And since I already have a common denominator, I'll just go ahead and say 5/2. All right, x squared minus y squared, so that's going to be 3 squared minus 2 squared. So 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4, total of 5. And one more, doesn't matter how many x's and y's, so I've got a 5. In place of y, I'm going to put 2 minus, remember x is 3, so 3 squared all over 4 plus, and now x times y would be 3 times 2. So let's see, on top, I know I'm going to do exponents and then multiplication, but on top I think I can go ahead and write that as 10 minus 9 And then on bottom, I can go ahead and write that as 4 plus 6. So that's going to be a total of 1 over 10. Okay, a number is a solution if you end up with a true statement. So if I put 2 in for x, or where I see an x, will I get a true statement? So in other words, is 3 times 2 plus 10 going to be equivalent to 8 times 2? Well, is 6 plus 10 equivalent to 16? Yes. All right. Some other things we talk about in this section are just some of the different words and what symbol they represent. So I could list all of these words down in our table down here, but just for the sake of time, since this is a video, maybe instead what I'll do is just next to each word, I will either put an addition sign, subtraction, multiplication, division, or an equal sign. So if you see the word twice, that's going to mean multiplication, a little dot for multiplication. Less than, means subtraction. Increased by means addition. Decreased by, subtraction. Ratio is like a fraction, and that's division. Gives is like equal sign. 3 plus 2 gives 5. Quotient is division. Product, means multiplication. Sum, means addition. Difference is subtraction. Of is multiplication. You might say half of 10. That means 1/2 times 10. Yields is the same as gives. That means equals. Amounts to would be equals. More than is addition. Is equals. Total is equals, and should be is equals. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you kind of write some phrases. So we're going to write an equation. That means you better have an equal sign for each of these. So we're going to say the product of a number and 9. Every time we see the word number, that's going to be a variable. So it doesn't matter what variable. I'm going to use n for number. So the product of a number and 9. So I'm going to multiply n times 9. And normally, instead of saying n9, don't we normally say 9n? So the product is 20. 5 more than a number. So we're adding a number and 5. It doesn't matter if you say n plus 5 or 5 plus n, because if it's addition, the order doesn't matter. So when I add them, it is 10. Now I know less than means subtraction, but on subtraction the order does matter. So when we say 5 less than a number, that would mean n minus 5. Okay, so 5 less than a number is 10. 5 decreased by a number. Now remember, up here on less than, we wrote it as n minus 5, but decreased, you don't switch the order. This would just be 5 minus n. So 5 minus n is 10. Twice, that means times 2. So 2 times a number added to 15 gives 20. The sum of 8 and a number, again, sum, addition, doesn't matter what order, so you can either say 8 plus n or n plus 8, doesn't matter, totals 20. Okay, so let's just practice kind of using the different words. All right, so that's section 1.4.